Let's set the scene. Life and women in the 1800s. The 1800s, what was happening? Well, between 1800 and 1860, there were 17 new states. Millions of immigrants were pouring into the country. The economy shifted away from agriculture in the market revolution. In 1860, there were 4 million slaves living in the United States. The Civil War ravaged the country from 1861 to 1865. In 1863 was the Emancipation Proclamation. The war claimed 1,030,000 lives, roughly 3% of the population. Between 1865 and 1877 was the Reconstruction period. Between 1877 and 1900 was the rise of industrial America. During that time, there were some notable inventions. We had the battery in 1800, the steam locomotive in 1814, the typewriter in 1829, telegraph in 1837, sewing machine 1845, internal combustion engine in 1858, the bicycle in 1861, telephone in 1876, the seismograph in 1880, and the roller coaster in 1898. The role of women in the 1800s. In the agrarian culture of the early 1800s, a lot of emphasis was put on the families as a whole to work together on their farms. Often, men and women shared equal amounts of work. As industrialization came about, men went off to work in factories, and women became more in charge of everything in regard to the home and children. Industrialization also developed new ways to spin and weave, previously women's work, which left a time vacuum for women to discover new activities for themselves. Women started volunteering at churches and arranging charities and other activities with their newfound time. When the Civil War broke out and men had to go away to enlist in the armies, many women took on more responsible roles, such as tending the shops, offices, and mills. In the early 1800s, education was primarily still for males, though by the end of the 1800s, women were becoming essential in teaching roles, as well as the establishment of several all-women's colleges. Women were controlled first by their fathers, their brothers, and eventually their husbands. Women were treated more like property than human beings during this time. Women were taught that their sole purpose was to get married, reproduce, and serve her husband. Women who chose to remain unmarried, or spinsters, were looked down on or pitied by the community. A woman's husband would be the recipient of any inheritance that the woman may have. Women could not hold property. Divorces were incredibly difficult to get, and if a woman did get a divorce, it had a negative social implication, and she may not be entitled to any property, possessions, or financial support in any way. Women would not be paid equal to men. Women could not vote. Fini, please complete the short quiz and be prepared for class tomorrow.